This is the Uptick Newswire Stock Day podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube to stay up to date on penny stock news and interviews, public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world, with your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, we have a returning guest. He was back on the show in January 16, 2018. We're talking no other than DigitalTown Inc., that trade on the OTC markets under the ticker symbol DGTW. And with us today to talk about his flagship product, Smart Web, is the CEO, Rob Monster. Rob, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, Everett, great to be back. Thanks for having me.
You know, we've gotten a lot of new listeners in the last couple of months. Give us about statement of what your company is all about, and then I want to get into the Q&A.
Yeah, sure thing, Everett. So DigitalTown is a global smart city platform. We empower any city, town, or village of any size to become a smart city. The way to think about it is if every city could be its own Google, Amazon, Expedia, OpenTable, Airbnb, PayPal, and Coinbase all in one, branded in the identity of the city, running on web and mobile, and owned by the citizens on blockchain, that would be DigitalTown.
You guys are doing some remarkable things out there. You're bringing blockchain to cities. Is blockchain really becoming the main street?
Well, I think that blockchain has gotten a lot of hype, and there's a lot of folks that are kind of looking at it as being some kind of speculative story wrapped around Bitcoin and to a lesser extent altcoins. But in fact, blockchain is a transformative technology. The decentralized internet, which is part of what blockchain is about, is very much a megatrend that is huge and will transform entire industries. And DigitalTown, from an early point, made the decision to build this platform on the decentralized internet, utilizing both the current generation technologies like Ethereum and also integrating next generation technologies like the R-Chain Co-op, which has about a $650 million market cap as an altcoin, in order to provide massively scalable, decentralized internet solutions that create essentially unstoppable platforms that restore economic sovereignty back to communities. So I think absolutely, blockchain and decentralized internet are absolutely for real. And DigitalTown is actually one of the very few companies, and perhaps even the only one, which is a pure play on as a publicly traded company focused on blockchain.
You know, I want to switch gears here for a second. Talk about Tritons Fund. You guys did a self-registration with them. It's a student-run fund that I think of. And so what's going on there?
Yeah, so the Tritons Funds story is quite interesting. We routinely get inquiries from institutions that would like to do private placements with us or provide financing. But Triton is unique, so it was a shelf registration with a face value of $1 million. But what's unique about Triton is it's actually a student-run venture fund that does equity placements, and their board is comprised of San Diego-based luminaries, as the fund itself is run out of the University of California in San Diego. Among the board members is the owner of the San Diego Padres, and so we are intrigued on several levels. Number one, understanding and marketing to the millennial age cohort. Number two, positioning for the launch of San Diego.City, which is one of our portals that is active in San Diego. And number three, being able to begin engagement with Major League Sports. As we talk about return to local, the notion that the mobile app that you use to book a ride share, a bike share, public transportation, and buy local from merchants, you'll also be able to pick up a deal on tonight's ball game, right? And so all of that local-centric user experience branded in the identity of the city, owned by the citizens, and capable of doing frictionless transactions, it makes sense to be talking to those guys. So yeah, we're really excited about that partnership, and they've been engaged in weekly conference calls, mapping opportunities, and working with us on engaging university students, not just in California, but also abroad. and also beginning the dialogue with Major League sports franchises.
And I noticed that you put out a press release not too long ago about you down in San Antonio, maybe doing some integrated solutions in their city. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, so our base plan is to bring DigitalTown to the entire world. There are 3.7 million cities, towns, and villages around the world, of which only 4,400 have 100,000 people or more. At the end of the day, this is about invoking a global movement that restores power to the people through direct commerce, buy local, buy direct, while at the same time co-creating quality of life. I just, about 2 weeks ago, gave my first TED Talk, and that should air in the next few days. It should be visible. Look for it on social media. But in the meantime, we are gearing up for doing a full-on rollout in Central Texas, from Austin to San Antonio. And so the intention there is to essentially do full-on merchant onboarding, resident onboarding, and to work also with the municipalities. There are about 24 across that corridor to create true interoperability both within cities and between cities, and then set the stage for global rollout. The extension cities that are already confirmed include Miami, London, and the city of Surat, India, 4.4 million people. So the stage is set for a true global rollout of what you might characterize as digital sister cities, but to really crack the code on market entry and propagating a movement, we want to actually put some focused effort behind a highly targeted geography where we can roll up our sleeves and work with local stakeholders and understand messaging and how do we effectively tell the story in a way that is intuitive and allows people to essentially adopt it, in the vernacular of the daily life, right? So the idea that somebody might say, DT me, as in DigitalTown, that would be a natural behavior for somebody who's saying, send me a payment or a message on a platform that we both use as fellow residents of a particular city. So that pattern and the idea that you would be able to take that same user experience with you as you go from jurisdiction to jurisdiction is something that we are working towards. And it starts with one city and fans out from there.
You've been listening to Rob Monster, CEO of DigitalTown Inc. They trade on the OTC markets. Under the ticker symbol DGTW, stock price is trading around 11.5 cents, very undervalued. Rob, let me ask you this. DigitalTown, you guys have been moving very quickly in terms of assembling a lot of assets and partnerships around the world. What can we expect from your company here in the next couple of months?
Yeah, first of all, you're right. We've done a number of acquisitions, a total of 7 across the last 2 years and 3 months in order to be able to assemble this critical mass of technology assets that comprise the DigitalTown platform on web, iOS, and Android. And we've, in the process, secured what I call choke points on the ecosystem that provide defensive moat as it relates to the operation of the platform. It would be mighty difficult for most organizations to be able to replicate what it is that we have managed to build. And now we're about going to market. So you can already download the DigitalTown mobile app, and you can visit digitaltown.com and sign up. When you sign up, you get 10 free so-called city shares. This is the ownership interest mediated through blockchain. And any city, town, or village can now sign up and activate the process of becoming a digital town. So fundamentally, what can you expect in the next 90 days? Number one, we're activating the global movement. That starts with messaging through mainstream media channels like the TED Talk that is airing shortly, and a variety of other methods that are being initiated through our newly appointed Chief Brand Officer, Karen Floyd, based in Las Palmas, which is just off of the North African coast, a Spanish island, from where we are able to operate both Europe, Middle East, and Africa, as well as global operations through a fantastic new facility that's come online there. And then secondarily, it is about Main Street level activation merchants and consumers to introduce this new-to-the-world capability that can restore local economic sovereignty and improve quality of life for communities for generations to come.
Rob, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. In closing, is there anything that we didn't get a chance to touch upon you would like to illustrate here in the closing remarks?
If anybody would like to understand anything more about DigitalTown, visit our website, digitaltown.com, and we've also set up a very straightforward investor thesis page at dt.city, where it's also possible to invest using cryptocurrencies. So anybody who is looking to deploy cryptocurrency liquidity to own shares in a public stock, it is possible to do so for accredited investors through the mechanism of private placement. So by all means, explore what DigitalTown is about. I think we're onto something really, really fascinating.
DigitalTown, changing the world one city at a time. I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you on here. Hopefully you'll come back in 40 or 50 days and give us an update of what's going on.
You bet, Everett. It will be my pleasure.
This program is entirely sponsored and produced by Uptick Newswire, LLC, which is responsible for the content. The opinions and information provided on this program are those of the guests and those of the respective companies they represent, and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of Uptick Newswire. Uptick Newswire encourages all listeners of this program to do their due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that will work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional. The guests of this program may have paid for its distribution and are not directly affiliated with Uptick Newswire or this station.